Somewhere between washing dishes and falling asleep, you're already mid-argument. Not with anyone in the room, with someone from this morning, or last week, or 3 years ago. You know exactly what you should have said. You're saying it now, finally, to nobody, alone in your kitchen, completely convinced you're winning. Then you catch yourself, and feel slightly insane. You're not. There's a word for it actually. Jauska, the compulsive imaginary conversations the brain runs on its own. The rehearsals, the replays, the arguments with people who aren't there and won't hear any of it. Most people have them constantly and assume it means something is wrong with them. And it doesn't mean that, but it does mean something. The brain has a default state. When you're not focused on a task, driving somewhere familiar, showering, staring at nothing, it doesn't go quiet. It goes inward. Neuroscientists call the network responsible for this the default mode network. It activates specifically when nothing external demands your attention. What it does with that time is run social simulations, relationships, conversations, conflicts. The mind rehearsing the social world even when the social world isn't present. It's automatic. It started before you knew it was happening. The argument in your head isn't a glitch. It's what the brain does when you leave it alone. The question is why that particular argument? Why that person? Why that moment from 3 days ago that you can't seem to close? Usually, it comes down to something unresolved, not necessarily an actual fight with an actual ending. Something subtler, a moment where you felt dismissed and didn't respond, where you said yes and meant no, where someone said something that landed wrong and you smiled and let it go, and it didn't go. The brain noticed that the situation didn't finish properly, and it keeps returning to it the way that you would return to a sentence you didn't complete, looking for the ending, looking for the version where you said the right thing, made the right point, walked away with some sense of dignity intact. The imaginary argument is the brain's attempt to close a loop that real life left open. And here's what makes it stranger. In your head, you're always sharper, calmer, more precise. You have the exact right words and enough time to deliver them perfectly. You know what the other person is going to say because you're writing both sides. You can't lose. But you also can't actually win because the other person isn't there. The conversation isn't happening. Whatever satisfaction the brain is looking for, it can't actually get it from a simulation of the person, only from the person. So the loop keeps running. You keep going back. The argument never quite resolves because nothing real is being resolved. There's also a second kind, different from the replay, the pre-argument. The conversation you rehearse before it happens, every possible version of how they might respond, every path the exchange could take, walked through in advance. This one feels more productive, like preparation, and sometimes it is. Thinking through a difficult conversation ahead of time isn't irrational, it's practical. The brain running through scenarios can genuinely sharpen how you handle the real thing. But it can also be something else, a way of feeling in control of something that hasn't happened yet and might not. The rehearsal becomes a way of managing anxiety rather than preparing for an outcome. You're not getting ready, you're just running the fire drill over and over because the running of it feels safer than the silence. What connects both kinds is the gap, the distance between what happened and what you needed to happen, between what you said and what you meant, between who you were in the moment and who you are when nobody's watching and you finally have the words. The brain returns to that gap compulsively. Not to torture you, because closing gaps is what it does, because unresolved things create a low-level tension that the mind keeps trying to discharge even when the only tool it has is imagination. The conversation keeps replaying because some part of you still needs something from it, usually not the argument itself, usually something quieter than that, to feel understood, to feel like you weren't wrong, to feel like you existed in that moment in a way the other person acknowledged. The imaginary argument is rarely about winning. It is about being seen, and the person that you're arguing with alone in your head at midnight isn't really who you were trying to convince.